everyone. It's been a long time since I've uploaded a video. I've been very busy here in the garage. Before I get too far into everything, if it's the first time tuning into the channel, my name is Eric Freusland, and this is my 2013 Corvette Grand Sport. I'm going to back up here in the garage for a little bit of this because it's extremely windy outside, and I don't know if you're going to be able to hear me. But 2013 Corvette Grand Sport. It was a supercharged LS3, and then I put a dry-sleeved 387 cubic inch engine in, and it made a little over 1,000. But I wanted to change stuff up. I've been a turbo guy at heart for a while. My previous GTO was a single turbo car, so I decided to change this up, and it's been 3-ish months in the making. Looks like the wind died down a little bit, so we'll go out here and take a look at it. The first thing you might notice is I went with the, now this has nothing to do with the engine setup, but I went with the C7 style Morimoto LED headlights, and absolutely love them. You can see sneaking out at the bottom there, it's a different intercooler, and deleting the fog lights. The reason I had to delete the fog lights is on this side is a 5-inch bumper exit. I'll just go ahead and pop the hood and we'll get right to it. So here's the new setup. It looks quite a bit different. You can see the prize jewel down there. That's a 107mm turbo from On3 Performance. They are a cheaper brand of turbos. I wanted to try them out. I've already driven this car a little bit. It doesn't smoke, it makes boost. Right now I have a smaller set of injectors in here, so I really can't make a whole lot of boost. The new Bosch 210 injectors are showing up tomorrow. So we'll get this all together and we'll get it on the dyno. Now, even though this thing has a bumper exit, it's still a street car to me. I kept air conditioning, barely. Had to bend quite a few AC lines, tie stuff out of the way, heat wrap a lot of things. But AC's in there, still has power steering. Now the engine, I got rid of the dry sleeved engine. I went with an LSX iron block, which has a Cali's Dragon Slayer 4-inch stroke crank. I went with Cali's Ultra Enforcer rods and a set of diamond pistons. So this is a 427 cubic inch engine now. I topped that off with Brodix LS7 cylinder heads, and that's a stock LS7 intake manifold. Now, I'd say 90% of this turbo kit is all custom made. I made it here in my garage. What I did is I purchased these manifolds from CX Racing. CX Racing actually makes a single front mount turbo kit for these cars. But I really don't like it. It doesn't position the turbo where I want it. It doesn't fit as large of a turbo as I have, and they delete AC. So I bought just their manifolds, and they're rad. And then the rest of this hot side here, I welded up here. It's all V-banded. Even the inlet of the turbo is a V-band. Twin 40mm Turbo Smart gates. I redid the fan shroud a little bit. So it was a lot of fabrication over the last couple months, but I did make it all fit. The iron block actually dropped my front end a good bit. The car was already low, and I have raised it since putting the engine in. It's still sitting pretty slammed. But I'll take care of that later. What else is there to talk about? There's a lot going on in here. I did so much over the 3 months that it's hard to describe everything. The car is still a manual transmission, still has the monster triple disc clutch that I installed a while back. Eventually I'll be doing a 4L80E automatic trans conversion, but for now we're going to see how this thing acts with the manual, and I'll get a 2-step to bring it up on boost, because this is a really large turbo, and first gear takes quite a bit of effort to get some boost out of it. But when it wakes up, it's pretty scary, and it's toned down quite a bit right now because of the really small injectors I have in here. But it's enough talking. Let's start this girl up. While I'm in here, I went ahead and deleted the radio, because even with the supercharged setup, I never listened to the radio. And I have on order a set of switches. I'm going to have switches in here for methanol, line lock, trans brake in the future, my secondary fuel pump override, a couple other things. I'm going to mount my phone here and use the torque app for some of the gauges. Instead of buying a bunch of gauges, I'll put IAT and some of the important gauges on here. But let's get her started. I'll close the door real quick with the windows up. I'm not sure how loud this is going to sound on video, but it's pretty tolerable in here with the fender exit over there. Now if I crack this window, I know this is hard to pick up on video sometimes, but it's pretty loud out there. See, this is a pretty cold start. I just had it running. We'll go outside and listen to it. There. I love those things. They totally transform the look of this car. I'm going to back in the garage here for a minute. The goal with this new setup is to make 1,500 horsepower out of the tires. This turbo should more than support that. A couple things that may be a limitation. The intercooler is a 4-inch thick core, and piping I chose 3-inch. One, if not both of those, may end up being a restriction past that 1200 wheel mark. We're going to just push it there and see what happens. I already have another intercooler in mind, and it's pretty easy to upgrade to 3.5, maybe even 4-inch piping if I need to. Also, the Monster triple disc clutch is really only rated to about 1,000. I'm just going to take it until it slips and see what happens. If it slips, I'll turn it down a little bit, run it that way so I can afford the auto swap, and then we'll really turn it up. The goal is to street drive this car a good bit. We're going to take it to the YouTube callouts and a couple of the other events. I'm trying to think of what else I'm going to be changing on this car. It's really a lot. Right now I have a set of seats in it that I borrowed from a buddy because I sold my factory seats, as gorgeous as they were. They didn't have holes for harnesses, and I'm going to get this car, I'm going to have an 850 serrated cage put in it and a set of aftermarket racing seats, and then the 5 or 6 point harness to go with it. These are just some Z06 seats out of an 09, which are still nice, but definitely do not match this interior. So I hope I explained everything that I did to the car. It really has. It's been a lot. I've been in here every night after work, tacking stuff up, cutting it, changing it, making it fit exactly the way I want, ordering stuff, waiting eternities for stuff to show up, as most people with this aftermarket know. Sometimes things just take a while to get. I waited 2.5 months on the cylinder heads. Machine shop that did the short block for me, they turned that around relatively quickly. It took about 2 months, just shy of 2 months, for them to machine the block, because it was a 390 bore. They took it up to the 4125, and then I went ahead and let them assemble the bottom end. I normally do that myself because it really doesn't take that much. I have the tools to do it, but with them assembling the bottom end, they can stand behind it a little bit. It is aftermarket, so warranties can kind of be, especially when I'm pushing things to 1,000 plus wheel horsepower. But runs great, makes great oil pressure. And we're going to go ahead and take it out on the street now, just a little cruise. I can get on it a little bit. The injectors that are in here right now only support about 14 to 16 pounds of boost with the methanol that I have. I just changed the wastegate springs and turned the boost controller down. It was making 16. It might only make 10 to 14 now, but let's take it out and see what happens. Okay, she's just barely warmed up. We're just going to take it out and take it easy. A little blood from somebody here. So now that I know my base boost pressure, I do have a manual boost controller on here. And I know I'm going to have the electronic boost controller in probably about 3 days. I'm going to go ahead and turn it up a little bit because this boost level is just no fun. It does that sometimes.
That was scary. Feels nuts with the stick too.
I actually like it a lot. Like, yeah, I want the auto for, you know, to just
Right, to be efficient.
But God, this is fun. Because it just starts blistering.
It's just like ridiculous shit.
Yeah.
Ridiculous shit.
I might keep the stick, man. It saves me a lot of money. I'll have to go to like a quad disc clutch or something crazy. You start recording?
Yeah.
Monster Clutch, please sponsor me. Give me something that can handle 1,500 at the tire. I don't want like a what do you call it? Like a dog teeth trans, like Leroy, or Cletus has in Leroy. Just because that's not really a streetable trans.
Yeah, you want to be able to drive
I
around.
want to be able to drive it. Whew, God, this thing's nasty. It's only like 14, 15 pounds of boost there. And it's just obliterating the tires. Okay, we're back home. We're in the garage. That was pretty wild. Real quick, I want to explain what happened when the car started violently shaking left to right. So the Corvette has a couple different modes as far as turning traction and active handling off. You can do everything on, traction control off, and 100% active handling, and then competitive driving mode, which is traction control off and 50% active handling, and then everything off. Where it was shaking back and forth was just track off. What that is the active handling was overcompensating back and forth. I thought it was getting too sideways, and it started going back and forth. I'm assuming it does that because of the wheel and tire setup that's on the car. It doesn't have quite as much traction on the front tires as a factory with front wheel would. So I normally drive in competitive driving mode, and it doesn't do that at all. But when there's a tire pressure fault, it doesn't always let you get into competitive driving mode. And since my stock wheel and tires are in the garage, anytime I leave the house, I cannot get into competitive driving mode for about 20 minutes of driving. Immediately after that happened, I tried it a couple times and I was finally able to get into the don't kill me mode, competitive driving mode, and everything was fine. It never really gets out of hand, but it is pretty scary and you kind of got to muscle the steering wheel, but it is what it is. I'm not going to drive in that mode anymore. I'm just going to make sure, now that I make this much power, that I can get into competitive driving mode before I go out and do full 1,000 horsepower plus pulls. But now that we're back from Mexico, and real quick, even in those pulls, it's about 45 degrees out, so it's a little cold, but even with these warm ET Street Rs, it's still absolutely blistered the tires at the end of third and at the end of fourth gear. So I'm going to step this up from a 26-inch rear tire to a 28, and hopefully that helps. I know I'm not going to be able to put down much more than 1,000 to 1,200 on the street, but at the track I'll really be able to turn it up. And eventually this is going to go to a bead lock because I'm sure I'm going to need it. Looked everything over. Everything's fine. Didn't blow off any pipes. Nothing melted. Tried to do my best to heat protect everything I could. So all is well. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. The next one is going to be the car on the dyno. I'm really going to turn it up as long as I have the fuel and the intercooler supports the airflow needed. See if we can make 1,400, 1,500 real horsepower. See you next time.